Welcome to the Athena Wellness Podcast, the show that invites you to take a seat around the community fire and listen to stories that inspire. I'm your host, Kathy Robinson, author, coach, and founder of Athena Wellness, a company that's dedicated to supporting you on your journey to live more wholeheartedly. Hello, and welcome to episode 100. Thanks so much for joining me for the shortened Wellness Wednesday episode, a little midweek boost to help keep your warrior vibe high. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm sitting here on a sunny December day just beaming. Last year at this time, I was scared to death to launch this podcast. Podcasting is one of those things where you have to learn in front of an audience, which is not my favorite thing to do. I'm so much more comfortable woodshedding in private. But the desire to create a platform to highlight stories that help you learn, grow, and think, stories that warm your heart and broaden your perspective of what it means to live wholeheartedly, thankfully, that desire was stronger than the fear of potentially failing miserably in public. And while those first episodes were a little wobbly, kind of like a newborn deer taking its first steps, we made it. And I thank you for your willingness to stay with me as I learn to walk. I wanted to spend a few minutes looking back and also sharing some things that I have planned for the show in 2022. This podcast has evolved from typical wellness topics to themes that go so much deeper. And I love that evolution. As I scan the last 99 episodes, here's an example of that progression. We started with New Year's intentions, wellness practices that included things like meditation and journaling, mindfulness, plant-based living, the importance of functional movement and good sleep, how to simplify life, exploring things like Ayurveda. And then we got into things like creative flow, reinventing yourself, money management, personal power, positive energy, entrepreneurship, post-corporate life, life transitions, life planning, life storytelling, life journeying, life adventures, and authentic living. All things that add up to a life well lived. Our earliest guests came to the show because I was phoning friends who I thought had an interesting perspective to share, and they were doing me a solid. As the year unfolded and I began using a podcast guest service, I had access to a whole range of interesting folks, and I was able to put my friends back at ease. For all the guests who spent some time with us, thank you for trusting me with your story. It's a responsibility I don't take lightly. I hope you felt cared for and heard and seen by me, as well as our listeners. I'm heartened to know that we're doing something right. To date, there have been thousands of downloads, with November being our best month yet. So the trajectory is going in the right direction, and it motivates me to bring you even more value in 2022, including some vancasts. I plan to venture off of Zoom and out of New Jersey in search of interesting people and stories that I can share with you. I started a wish list, and I'll begin contacting these potential guests early next year so that when the snow melts and the weather warms, I can head out on some podcast adventures. I have some exciting themes planned linked to wholehearted living, ones I hope will keep you motivated to stay well and do the things that light you up with those you love. I love the way speaker Chris Heater describes this wholehearted state, what she calls wild living, and she defines that as, quote, having the courage to bring the gift of all of who you are to all of what you do, end quote. That's a wonderful aspiration, isn't it? And a great guiding light for the new year that's upon us. I want to end this episode with a heartfelt thank you to you. Without you, there would be no Athena Wellness Podcast. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing your favorite episodes with friends. I recently heard a story of someone sitting next to a woman on an airplane. This woman exuded positive energy. You could just feel it just by sitting next to her, that she was in tune and in flow with life. Turns out this woman was a successful billionaire entrepreneur. The person asked her, "What's your secret? How do you become so successful and stay so upbeat that I can feel it?" And the woman replied, "The best do the basics better." That's what I've tried to embody this year in creating this podcast. I hope you can hear that intentionality each time you listen. And I hope these 100 episodes have brought you value and inspired you to live more wholeheartedly, whatever that may look like for you. I'm sending you my very best wishes to you and your loved ones this holiday season. I'll be taking a brief break, but I'll meet you back here on January 2nd. And as we bring this year to a close, I'm raising my glass to you. Here's to 2022. I can't wait to share it with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know there are many ways you can spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me. Until our paths cross again, be kind to yourself and show your warrior spirit some love. If you know anyone who could benefit from today's episode, please pass it on. And many thanks for supporting the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It means a lot, and it helps others find their way to our circle. And if you'd like access to the show notes, have a question you'd like addressed on a future episode, or would like a transcript of this episode, visit www.athenawellness.com/podcast. Until next time, be well.